knowledge for obscure St Kilda players was second to none.
Mate.
Oh, mate, stop kissing.
No, seriously.
I love obscure athletes.
I didn't know some of them. I was like, fuck, that's incredible.
So I'm not interested in Travis Cloke or Gary Ablett. I'm interested in like fucking Shannon Motlop. Like I'm interested in like cricketers who played 4 Shield games in like 6 1 days.
I love that.
Yeah, like Jason Arnberger. Like I love him. And and occasionally you bump into him, I'm like, you don't know how much I loved you as a kid. It's so bizarre.
Well, this is one we need at some point. I was going to get later into your cricket side of things.
Oh, yeah.
People don't understand how into cricket you truly are.
I love cricket. Yeah,
we need some coaching. Like
I'm actually hosting a night of Wimbledon as well.
Hey, really?
Which is
You're a tennis nuffy as well.
No, I'm not. So
you got to get up to date with it all.
Well, I'm really worried about all the like Eastern Europeans. Like you can't pronounce their names.
Yeah, right.
So it's me and Yelena Dokic, and she takes no prisoners. Like if you get something wrong, she's like, "You're wrong" on air. So
is that with tongue in cheek with her? Is she
no, she's full
kinda
serious. Yeah. And if you talk for too
wait.
long, she starts hitting on the desk. Like, no, it's my turn to talk. So
That's great.
Similar how we operate here.
All right, now we've got a little. If we start hearing whacking each other on the knee,
Put my phone on airplane mode.
yeah, I think we're already recording.
We are. And we like to do a bit of a rolling.
Yes.
You know.
We generally don't even do an intro. I actually have one. Do you want me to read it and
Do
say
whatever you
what
want,
I had?
mate. Nothing's off limits.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's
There's nothing you can say that can offend me, so go for it.
Oh, good, because this is controversial stuff. This is I never do intros, so this is what I've written.
On the iPad.
Today we're joined by.
Fucking hell,
Don't make me laugh.
Jim, stop.
Today we're joined by one of the AFL's most prominent journalists. He's broken more stories than I've broken self-imposed curfews and become one of Channel 9's biggest weapons. Assuming the role of, did I get this right? Chief footy reporter?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
In 2025, he's turned every perceived weakness into a strength, as he recently displayed via a trip to Turkey, installing some thick mud tyres and decreasing the PSI on one Toyota. What was it? A Toyota?
It's a Lexus
Corolla?
Blackburn. I've got that. Get it. Beautiful cars. Can I just start off by saying thanks for having me. I didn't go to Turkey. I got it done in Melbourne.
Oh, you did?
Yes, you get it. Advanced Hair Studios.
Yeah, hey.
Hey.
Yeah, well, about 10% off if you use Tom as a code.
Is that right?
I'm not even joking either.
Happy to.
What I'm trying to do is probably a good podcast to talk on.
Yeah.
I'm trying to destigmatize people getting hair treatment.
Yeah, it's
like,
common thing
like
these days.
if you want to make yourself feel and look better, get it done.
Bloody
Like,
oath.
there's no taboo. So and it's it's one of the best things I ever did. Bit awkward for a couple of weeks when you.
I was
going to
say, what's the nitty gritty? Like, how do I need to do it in the off season? Like, when do I need to do it?
In fact, there's actually a current Collingwood player that you would have played with that got it done last off season. You might know.
Yeah.
I'd prefer not to say his name because he doesn't want it out publicly. But he looks great now.
So
And
he's playing still?
Yep, and he's playing some very good footy. And
totally gonna
so
go
you've got to be at
for
home for 2 weeks after. You can't go
Is
out.
that it? I thought it was like 6 months.
Well, I'm 5 months in now, and it's starting to starting to come together. But it takes about 12 months all up.
Yeah, right.
But for the first 2 weeks, you can't sweat, so you can't even go on a walk. And I got it done in January, so I
Yes.
sat at home. like,
Binge cricket.
This
Yeah,
is
I
how
watched
it-
a lot
this
of
is how it
BBL
came
in that
across my
time.
desk. I was watching the Sri Lankan stuff,
Yes.
and watching the SEN coverage through the socials. And hold on a second.
I was wearing a brimmed hat every day.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did Hutchie sort of just was that a sadistic thing to tell you to take it off?
No, so what happened was I didn't mind being completely bald when I got it done, but then there's an awkward patch of about 6 to 8 weeks where it's really patchy. And it's like, oh, is he? What's going on there? And that's more of a self-confidence thing.
Yeah,
But then
okay.
once you get through that, then you're fine.
Yeah.
So I'm through the hard bit now, and away we go. I mean, I'm never going to be like that, but
It's
you
just
know,
going to go from judging from the rest of my family. Everyone thinks it's going to be strong, and then it's all of a sudden it's
Mate,
not there.
Terry's solid.
Terry's going all right, but there's others. There's others. I'm nervous. This is where this whole thing comes from. I'd lose one hair, and I'm on the internet with a burner account going, "Oh, I'm losing my hair."
the problem is, the average punter takes a tablet and it affects their sexual prowess.
Right.
So you get a hair transplant, you have to do that, and you just got to be at home for 2 weeks.
What
so
if you don't have any sexual prowess?
well, then you're not losing much in the first place.
Well, we should also talking about destigmatizing hair stuff and. Should we roll Tommy through our planned trip to Turkey that's happening? This is real.
Are you actually
Absolutely.
going?
Yeah.
Yep.
For that purpose or another purpose?
Well,
Well, for multiple purposes, just still in the aesthetics department, we're acquiring a private jet, and this is real. And we are getting.
We aim large. Don't
What's
worry.
going on here? 28-year-old male.
I just sit backwards and listen to this.
This is real. This is absolutely real. We've. Do you want to maybe even
can
talk
confirm
to?
Daniel Coscelli, one of our mates, good friends of the show, is a private jet pilot. So we've hit him up and said, mate, how much to charter a plane to Turkey? And he said, a lot more than you can afford. But that's why we're looking for sponsors.
Right.
Preferably from the Middle East, Qatar, Doha
Yes.
region.
It's a good time to
Yes.
do that, I
They have
guess.
Yes.
Plenty of sheets.
Yes.
And sheiks. And
Yep.
we're hoping that they can fund our trip to Turkey,
Wow.
get the plug. So we might spend $500,000 on the plane, but
Yes.
at least the procedure will be cheaper than
Yeah.
advanced.
Well,
Correct.
it's actually like all-inclusive procedure. So I had a mate who went to Turkey about a year ago, and you fly there, you get put up in a hotel for a week, they treat you like a king, you fly back, it's all done. So, I mean, you could get it done at advanced hair here, or you could get a trip
What
to Turkey
kind of
as well.
sheets are we talking?
Well, a full hair transplant in Melbourne or Australia is about 20 or 25K, but in Turkey, I think it's like $7,000 or $8,000.
It's honestly really not that bad. Like even the full whack, like because I know definitely thinning up top for me.
Can
like,
I
it's
say
such-
I've never met
I'm
before.
pretty
Nah,
good
mate,
here,
you're fine.
but up here I'm thinning out.
Oh, you got the crown going on.
yeah. So, but like,
Can I ask how old are you though?
34,
Yeah,
5.
okay.
Oh, yeah,
So you're at that crucial point
Yeah,
now.
But it was like this from when I was 21.
point.
It's just held on for dear life for 14
point.
years now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, if you combine me and him, would be fucking. Must be us.
But I've been like this for like 10 years now.
Yeah,
I'm like,
exactly.
When's
Hold
it
on.
about to really go? Because I'm ready to commit, but I'm not.
Would you shave it?
No, I got big ears. Look at the size of these fucking things.
No.
My
Would
missus
you
was
do
like,
the-
do it, you know, for your own. Like she's like, just why not? Just
Yeah.
do it
Your own
for your
self-esteem. Nah,
confidence.
I've got
Yeah.
none. I'm done with
In the
that.
first place. What got me is every time I'd get in the car, my missus would say, "Why are you looking at the mirror all the time?"
Yeah.
And it was actually affecting my life. So I was
Yeah.
like, despite the bullet, you know. Anyway,
Yeah.
this is a hair podcast. I don't mind.
you would be surprised how many people. Well, you wouldn't be. You've been on the page for a while. We've been mates through there for a long time.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be surprised at how many people are in the hair transplant market. But we're talking Turkey on the plane.
Yeah, private
And
jet.
just, I want to take you there, just
Chompers?
visually.
You're going to get the teeth done?
You gotta- yeah, that's why I'm going. I'm getting the chomps.
Oh, right.
I would like to get the chomps, maybe a
Full
calf
set-up.
implant, or even two.
Valerian.
Oh my god.
Yeah, maybe a Bavuma sort of anus. The uplift is what I'm going for.
Yeah.
That sort of setup. But what we'd like to do is go there, and like we're talking 25 people maybe just from the page, and
Yeah.
we all go together. It's like a golf trip, but for
Well, I'm
your hair.
available.
Enhancements.
Yeah.
If you're in, and then
I'm in.
after that we go straight to Ibiza.
Oh, good. Well, I've been there before, so I'll join you there. Yeah.
Can you just picture?
Ushuaia.
Oh,
Everyone's going there with
25 people with
headbands
those
on.
headbands.
Yeah, the headbands.
Because the plane trip's the most memorable thing. When you look at all the memes and stuff, and it's just
seen on
the
TikTok.
guys, all their heads just sitting there, they're all
Yeah.
swollen, blown up.
It's very normal.
That's what you could get.
Yeah, let's destigmatize it.
Yeah, all right. So you're in. You're coming
in.
on this
Yeah, I'm
trip.
locked, yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah, but that's hair out of the way.
Yeah, good. I've sort of answered a few of the questions there, haven't I?
Yeah, pretty
good.
much.
Yeah.
I did. There's another one that's in this realm, not hair, but the car thing. What happened there?
So that video of I assume people. You posted it on your
I
page?
didn't.
Yeah, right.
I got it through Forgotten Stars.
Yeah, that's right. So I had a little Toyota car that I got for my 21st, and in 2019, I was hosting a function at Elstonwick Park for the old Melburnians, and I actually hadn't really slept the night before. So you're sort of a bit frazzled in those sort of. You don't really know what's going on. So I stupidly parked in a bog and my car got caught. Anyway, they filmed VAFA games. So the camera got it, and they filmed it. And, it was on the couch that Monday. Jared Healy threw it
was
and
it?
said, it was on social media all the time.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, everyone forgot. And then about 2 weeks ago, it got brought up again, and everyone thought it was a current video. It was actually in 2019,
Fair
so
dinkum.
pretty embarrassing. But now, as I said before, I've got a Lexus of Blackburn, not the Toyota.
Right.
It's
so-
all-wheel drive too, isn't it? now?
Yeah.
it's all good.
I mean, extremely embarrassing. When you're not thinking straight and your car gets bogged, you start to question your
Everything.
whole life. Yeah, what are you doing?
I did like your form out the side of the window there. A few thumbs up and a big. there
Well,
was a-
when in doubt, just smile, really. I mean, it was pretty embarrassing.
I think
at
that was
the
the
time.
screenshot I got when I put
Yeah,
something. Hey, Tommy's coming on the podcast. There he is.
But
I
that's
feel
6
like in
years
the
ago now.
first 10 minutes of this pod, you've fulfilled all your sponsorship obligations.
Lexus of
You've
Blackburn,
got
Advanced Hair.
Lexus of Blackburn.
Cobram Estate's another one I need to get a mention in. Good people, Cobram Estate. extra
Popping up
virgin olive
everywhere,
oil.
Cobram Estate.
Yeah,
I'm hearing
no,
about
it's
him everywhere.
Excellent stuff.
Doing helicopter
What else
rides.
you got there?
That's all I got.
You're going to have to bring some Cobram Estate in for us, mate.
Oh, I actually should have brought some in. I've got like 6 boxes at home from Brent, who's a great man. So next time, if I'm invited back, I'll bring some in for you for sure.
Absolutely, always welcome, Brant. And if you're listening, we take private jets, helicopters. I've seen the Cobram Estate
Yes.
helicopter just doing rides. But we're open.
We're open to it.
Well, Cobram Estate is the sort of product that you don't necessarily buy, but if you get given, like it's just worth it. It makes cooking such a better
I feel
experience.
like our
There you go,
audience
tick,
is-
tick, tick. How's that, Clocky?
I feel like our audience is more focused on surviving than thriving.
Yeah.
So they're
Well,
probably
so am
not Cobram operators.
We might be down in
75%
the
of
Aldi.
Australian households have Cobram Estate.
We've got
in
it.
Yeah, right.
We're a
Yeah,
user.
absolutely.
There you go.
I do have it, the garlic one.
Yeah, nice.
Mate, they got like spicy ones. They got it all going on.
They got
Mate,
it
it's
all.
different
You can't go
flavours.
wrong.
Pop around and tell me.
Are they paying us a
no,
lot?
no,
This
box
is
saying it, I remember.
rubbish.
This is one big ad.
Yeah, no, let's move
get
on
the
now.
juicy stuff.
Yeah, but I did. In all seriousness, like we've been talking for a long time
Yeah.
now, and struck up a bit of a friendship. And I thought, like in this, we've seen 2025 has been a total changing of the landscape. I guess as a punter looking in at how media is sort of surrounding footy and the show supporting it, and you could say it's oversaturation or it's a lot of things, but it looks very different to how it has looked in a while. And I thought, bring you on here. There's this great opportunity with Trav, who's been now on both sides of the fence, coach, player.
Did you like media when you were playing or not?
Oh,
Sorry, I'm turning to the interview
no, but
very
I had the
quickly.
famous smoke and shadows thing. So I look back.
Oh, yeah.
So I look back at it now. I was like, I tried to be something I wasn't.
Yeah, okay.
Like I tried to sell the line of what the club wanted me to, and now I look back and like that is the worst thing I could have ever done.
Just be yourself.
It wasn't authentic. It wasn't myself, and I think that we're seeing that now. We're seeing the authentic personalities come through, but. I understand now the reason for the media. Like, to be reality is, I got a job because the media pay our bills. Like, we got to realize that as players, but also as coaches.
Did you only realise that post-career though?
Yeah, at the time, I hated media.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, I used to
That's what
love
Rich do.
going on and doing the footy show because it was a bit of a tongue-in-cheek and those type of ones, but hated the real serious conversations. Why? Because I forgot how to be me because I had to be this line. I had to be like politically correct.
Yeah.
Where like, yeah, I live a politically correct life, but at the same time, I do have a personality and want to be able
Yeah.
to show that. So that's why many years where Jim ran this page not identified, I used to love it because I'd send him memes and funny stuff, but we could joke and laugh about it. And
employed
the
and love
reality
it.
is that's kind of like where our friendship kind of like blossomed more from. So it's funny, but now on the other side, I realise how important the media is. And I guess now platforms like Instagram and TikTok and that people are starting their own brand, but
Yeah.
it's still so important to have a relationship with the media.
Yeah.
Why? Like, yeah, if you stuff up, sometimes they do look after you, but at the same time, it's the relationship you build with that reporter or journo that, you know what, you can actually sit down and be betrayed in the right manner.
Yeah, yeah.
It's only going to get more important as we go forward because everyone's got a beautiful phone that nothing goes unscathed and you can really zoom on in, Jim.
Yeah,
and
well, that's
get
one of the
close.
things that is rapidly changing. I mean, we saw even podcasts and things like that, and players are now sort of exercising their right a little bit to have their own platform,
Yeah,
right of
for
reply
sure.
when things come out. But arguably, journos have been doing that for years with their Twitters.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, even recently, I think of Bailey Smith hasn't done a media conference all year, hasn't done an interview on radio or other than post game, hasn't done any club mandated interviews, but did a podcast recently. Jamari Ugle-Haken recently did a podcast, but he hasn't done a media conference or responded to journalists who want to speak to him, and that's fine. That's their prerogative. But it's all changing. It's changing, and there's a proliferation of TV shows and products out there. And you could say, well, there's too many TV shows, there's too many voices, but there wouldn't be that many voices and that many TV shows if people didn't want to watch and listen. Otherwise, it wouldn't be financially viable. So it is a saturated market, but that's what happens when you have a sport that's so popular in the one place.
Do you want to just chat about the economics of all this? Because I find that stuff really fascinating. Obviously, there was that $4.5 billion deal in 2022.
Gil did a good job there, didn't he?
Yeah.
So what it was for.
Can you
It's getting bigger too.
Can you help explain that to us as absolute nitwits and our audience who aren't nitwits, but what that actually means? Because that seems like a lot of money. Who gets that? What's that flow of funds looks like, if you know?
Yeah, well, I can do my best. So that $4.5 billion is across the life of the deal. Now, it might have been 7 years, might be 6 years.
Till 2031, so 7 seasons.
7 seasons. So you can break that down. So Channel 7 and Fox split that up, not in half. So Fox pay more. And part of the reason they pay more is because they get more games a weekend.
They've now got the Saturday.
They got the Super Saturday. That's right. So Fox would say, we will pay you this much so long as we can have Saturday exclusive to us. Sure. And the AFL, if they say no to that, that means they're leaving money on the floor, which then doesn't trickle down to grassroots and other sort of programs that they have. So everyone can say, oh, well, this is disgraceful. We don't have free-to-air footy on Saturday. But the AFL's going, well, hang on. That might cost us, I don't know, I'm making up a number, $100 million if we don't give Fox what they want. And then therefore, AFLW or grassroots footy or clubs or players or coaches don't get the money that they potentially deserve. So it is a risk for the AFL to leave money on the table. Equally, to have 3 games a weekend on free-to-air is very few for a lot of people who aren't necessarily rusted on footy fans. But Fox Footy's entire marketing strategy is if you want to be a proper footy fan, you need to pay for KO or pay for Foxtel, not just for the shows, but also for the footy itself. It's an unbelievable amount of money, isn't it? Like it's just it's mind blowing how much cash that is, and that's the reason that not every Fox Footy call team is at the game. That's the reason that there are shortcuts taken because they're trying to save money. Like the advertising dollar isn't what it was. But what is really clear, and this is probably the main point above all this, is that the only thing that's propping up traditional television now is live sport. So yes, people watch Maths or Love Island, and people watch the news.
Yes, enormous.
I'm a fan of Maths and Love Island.
Yes.
I'm happy to put my hand up and say that. Especially the most recent season of Maths is on Channel 9, and when they come into the office, I'm like, oh my God, there's Jamie. What the hell?
Can I put a mustache on and just a work experience?
But traditional TV is slowly dying because people have Netflix and Amazon and other networks. But live sport will always be live sport. So that's why they pay a premium for that product.
And do you think there was a decision that had to come at some point around Thursday nights coming in and the public going, we want Thursdays always, why are we only getting it sort of this time of the year? If it's, okay, we're going to give or take, we give KO Saturdays, and that's the one that, is that a ratings thing? Or
I mean, more people watch Thursday nights than Saturday nights. Yeah. So the AFL is going, well, you know what? If we're going to give up anything, we'll give up Saturday nights and Saturdays because people want Thursday night footy. And media broadcasters want Thursday night footy because Thursday night was a bit of a dead night. Like Monday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night. Well, Monday night's the biggest news night. Tuesday night's next, then Wednesday night. The week becomes less newsy as it goes on.
Right.
And by Friday, you're into the games.
Yep.
So if you start the games earlier, then you have a longer stretch of broadcast games. So I love Thursday night footy, and that's on Fox and 7. But Saturdays just being on Fox has put a few noses out of joint. But that's the decision they made about 2 years ago. And it hasn't come as a surprise to us in the industry.
Yeah.
But the average punter that sits down on a Saturday and turns on Channel 7 and gets Better Homes and Gardens is
Hey,
footy.
you get VFL footy.
VFL footy.
VFL footy on a Saturday night.
Sorry,
at 7:10
Coburg versus
down in
Williamstown.
It was the most predictable thing. I think people were calling this very early. Like it might have been Hutchie. I'm a big sounding board guy. Well, there's some stuff to get to with that later on. But I think he called it very early. He obviously has got his finger on the pulse. He goes, what's going to happen is no one's going to say anything for the next, whatever it was announced, 12, 6 months, whatever it is. And then we're going to get to the season and there's going to be an absolute uproar from the public. Where's our footy on a Saturday?
Because traditionally our DNA as a footy-loving public is you turn on the TV on a Saturday and there's AFL footy. Like that's been the case since the 1970s. And now you don't have it necessarily. But, I mean, the cost of living and all that comes into it as well. It's an interesting discussion, that's for sure.
Do you think there's a bit of a shift in the balance of power? I think globally in sport, you see Tom Brady just took whose job did he take when he moved into commentary? Greg Olson's job. Thanks, Harry, producer on the side, doing fuck all.
Good man. Sitting on the couch over there.
Yeah, doing fuck all.
My two cousins, by the way.
Oh, really?
So Brady's 375 million a year. So on 10 years at 375 million, 37.5 mil a year. That's just his media contract. Charles Barkley's 20 mil a year. Stephen A. Smith, 20 mil a year. The Kelsey brothers signed 100 mil for their podcast, which is only 3 mil more than us.
I wish you were American.
I was going to say, we're going to get your paycheck.
No,
Give me zero.
I think what happens in Australia, happens in the US a couple of years earlier, right? So I do think that there's this shifting of a balance of power. There's players, as you mentioned, Bailey hasn't done any media, but he doesn't really do podcasts. Jamara's the obvious example now, right? So I think there is a bit of a shift in power.
It's a superstar industry, more than it ever used to be. And the best example recently, whether you love him or hate him, is Kane Corns.
Yes.
Like he's the face of Channel 7 and SEN now. More than anyone's been the face of Fox Footy.
But he'd be getting paid more than 70% of listed players, 80% of players?
Oh, yeah, I don't know what he would be on, but I'd imagine
You
across
do.
the
Come
two.
on, mate.
No, I'd be guessing.
on.
I'd honestly be guessing.
Come on, we'll take a guess.
You can chuck a duffel down.
I can chuck
seven
him.
figures.
He's on that
close to
Qatari
it.
He'd
money,
be
I
on
think.
7 figures, surely.
All up, he'd be
Crossing.
close. I'd imagine, but I don't know. But that's because it's proven that whether you love what he says or you hate what he says, people tune in to listen to
I
him.
absolutely do.
Yeah, and I don't agree with quite a bit of the stuff he says, or the way he says it, but I'm still interested in him saying it.
So that goes the other way. Is like, how much are you willing to put out there as a journo that creates backlash to you though?
Well, I'm a slightly different role to Kane, so you pretty rarely hear my opinion.
Yep.
So I don't really.
So it's the fact that you're trying to.
I'm just trying to report news.
Yep.
So if I'm sitting next to James Hird or Jimmy Bartell on a Sunday night, or yourself. Like, no one cares what I think about Essendon's ball movement or Collingwood's defensive structure, but I might have an opinion on the list profile or the coach, not the structure. So like Michael Voss, I won't have an opinion on his game plan, but I'll have an opinion on his tenure, maybe, and maybe the assistant coaches behind him and what the club's trying to do. So I'm very specific and careful that I don't give my opinion because who actually cares about my opinion on those matters? Whereas Kane's the opposite. He'll give his opinion on everything.
And doesn't give a shit.
Yeah, doesn't give a shit. And I respect that, because if you're going to give me a former player that says nothing versus a former player that says too much, I will take the former player that says too much every day, because that is what you're paid to do. And there are, without naming names, a few former players that are paid really well that sit on the fence, and it drives me insane.
Yeah, Trav.
Like, mate, well, I didn't want to stay in the media because, like, I remember how hard it was to play. The game is so bloody hard, and then you hear like these shit from over the fans or reporters. You're like, come live a day in my shoes. It's rough. Now I'm on the other side. It's like I do understand the reason behind why the media needs to be there and why we've got to encourage this. And the main person didn't do his whole career. It was Dusty. Never did media. Like, even though we paid him ridiculous amounts and he was the spectacle why we watch footy. Like, is that going to be the new Bailey, Jamara? Who knows?
It could be. Well, he's sort of the poster boy for I'll do things my way.
Because the club will support it.
Yeah, the club will support it.
And they knew they had to. Otherwise, it might have gone a different avenue. But
which is interesting to watch with Bailey. Like declare my hand, Jamara and Bailey, both good mates of mine, and they're guys that probably I look at them and I see Dennis Rodman types who I'm going to do it.
But that's
my
good
way.
for footy.
And I
want
think it's fantastic. Yes, and then behind this, and they would not be upset with me saying this. They're leaning into that. They want to do more of it. Baz is brilliant. If you ever get a chance to sit down and have a yarn with him around that fire, it's.
I've had a chat to him privately a few times. I interviewed him the night he was drafted, and he's always been engaging.
Yep.
But every single Geelong player that went in ahead of Paddy Dangerfield's 350th into Kardinia Park the other night said g'day to the cameras, and Tony Jones was there, and but Bailey, headphones on straight in, didn't want a bar of it, but that's okay. That's him, you know.
And that's a part of, like you're saying, there's moments where he just knows himself. He's very emotionally intelligent, and he's doing a lot of work on finding out who he really is. And there's things he does where it's all right. I've got to lock it in that moment. The headphones are in. Then other times he's going to just do whatever the hell he wants.
Or when he flips the bird and all that, which I don't care about. Like that, honestly. Like anyway, that's another topic altogether.
I almost thought the AFL one was it's a slight tongue-in-cheek joke with Dimmer Hardwick yesterday.
I mean,
it's quite funny.
That's another story altogether.
But it is interesting watching this. I guess as an outsider looking in to an extent, I think that is absolutely where it's going to go with players, and I want to see it. And
I like it. Some people think that one thing I push back on very hard is when people classify the media. Like, the media is a broad term, but as I just explained, I'm different from Kane Corns, and he's different from Kath Lotnan, who's different from. So, people who say the media try to put down players and stop their personality from shining, it's just such a lazy way to look at it. Like, yes, some people in the media do that. But I will never criticise Bailey Smith for flipping the bird to someone, because who actually cares? Who's honestly offended by that? Or Bailey Smith after the game at the MCG when he said the thing about Ballarat. Good spice. Well done. I'm not going to criticise that, but others will. So this umbrella term media, it has relevance, but it's actually a bit slack. It's a bit lazy, I reckon.
I think this is what I'm actually interested in. I'm guilty as charged of being, sometimes tongue-in-cheek, sometimes really genuinely pissed off with things that I read here and there from all over the place. I think it would be lazy of me to not get a really, really good understanding now I'm in a position to do this and have these sorts of conversations about how media really operates behind the scenes. And like this sort of conversation is, I think, the only way to do that. How do I know how you come to have a story?
Yeah, okay.
How do the work in the background? How does the player know that? Like, Trav, did you have any sort of understanding of how stories come about?
I used to take a bit of liberty and like lead a little bit into these journals. Hey, I hear this, and see where they take it.
Oh, you're a lagger.
So did you leak a few stories towards the end?
Not even like, but not real though, like false.
Oh, fake stories.
Yeah, fake stories. And then really see where it goes. And then I'm like, well, can't really trust you. I share something with you. So
that's good.
Put it through the washing machine.
That was towards the back end. Like at the start, like, nah, man, I was sitting here in like deer in headlights type of thing. I didn't want to say boo.
I think a lot of players are probably like that, because it's intimidating. It's like you're a young man already, you're under pressure, and for every Nat Fyfe or Paddy Dangerfield or Gary Ablett Jr., there's like 500 guys that don't know what they're doing next year, and they're sore and they're injured, under pressure from their coach and teammates and family, and like it's tough. And they're paid well, but they also know that next year they don't know what they're going to be doing. So it is a difficult industry, and you add on the added layer to that is if you make a mistake and the media come for you, then your phone blows up.
And it's the repercussions from the footy club as well, because they've got their own brands and identities.
Yeah.
You mark up in personal. If you get a speeding ticket or something, and they're sponsored by TAC or something, well, it comes down heavy on you that way. Like, it works in different ways, but no, I definitely incentivize the falser stories for the end.
Interesting.
To see what happens.
Who did you tell?
No, I can leave that one out.
Please,
Jim
give us
definitely
something.
knows because
I
we roll
definitely know.
through.
Do you really? Yeah, God.
And some aren't working in the media now. Like,
Yeah,
some
right.
moved
Oh,
on
you've
into
pretty
the-
much just given it
You
away.
kicked him out.
No, I love that part because now,
Robbo.
I would say I've got.
Oh, Tom Brown. Oh, no.
I would say I've got a relationship with a lot of people in the media. Like now,
Speaking of hair.
have you got one as well?
Well, it looks like it. I mean, I'm just guessing. Anyway.
Jim, shut up.
Hey, no one can hear this. I am the editor of this podcast. This may not get in.
Didn't Forgotten Stars get a journalist one time?
Yes,
Forgotten
they got
Star-
Tom Brown.
about Toby Green.
Yeah.
Said Toby, and
This is where it all went. Like because we know a few of the guys running these other pages, and we
Crosses.
talk and mingle, and it's the way you get the story out. And that's
God,
why
that's
it's funny thing is like now as people on the other side and general public, like how much background checking do you have to do to a story?
Oh, that's such
and
a-
this is the funny thing because we're always like, oh, you want to be the first person to drop it. How much like credibility to time like ratio? You know what I mean?
That's such a good question, and it's something that you constantly weigh up. And Hutchie always talks about how close you are to the edge of the cliff. So if you're constantly on the edge of the cliff, you're probably going to get 2 out of 10 stories wrong.
Yeah.
If you're too far back, you'll never report anything. So if you tell, and I use you as an example because I trust you.
Yeah.
If you said to me, "Oh God, I hurt my hamstring," you can report it. I'll probably just do that because it's about you.
Yeah.
Like I'm not verifying that with someone else. But if you said to me that you heard that Swanee's hurt his calf, I'll probably have to go and verify that because he might have hurt his Achilles or his hamstring or his groin. So being able to verify it's really important in quick time. And I've missed that many stories because you think you know, but you just have to check it one more time, and in that time it's got out.
Well, just run us through. I know it sounds silly, but run us through what verifying looks like. Are you texting Swanee's mate who you know, or
It depends who it is. I mean, sometimes it's just calling the club media manager.
Right.
So Collingwood's really good. Like Tash and Nadine are amazing because if you have a story, they'll confirm it. So
Yeah.
So I who's the young fella that debuted a few weeks ago for the Pies?
I've stopped watching. They win
Yeah.
too
Anyway,
much.
so I had the news that he was debuting, and I messaged Tash and I said, and she's the media manager at Collingwood, and I said, I'm hearing this player's debuting, and she said, yep, you're right, and that was it. So that's all I needed. That's good media management. But if I said to her who is debuting this week, she wouldn't tell me because I'm just sort of throwing it out there. Yeah.
yeah? Because it would look pretty shit on you if you went out and reported that on Twitter or whatever,
Yeah.
and then that kid maybe hadn't told his parents.
Correct.
Something like that's probably why you need to verify, right?
Yeah, that's important as well. Like probably the example that the average punter would be most interested in is in grand final week in 2021 when I reported that Ryan Gardner was dropped from the Western Bulldogs, which is a serious example because this is a guy that's been dropped in grand final week. Like this is a significant moment in his life, and this is the day before the team's announced. This is the Wednesday night before the Thursday night team announcement. So I get that, and I knew that either Ryan Gardner or Zane Cordy would be dropped because it had been publicised that Alex Keith would come back in. So it's what we call a fork in the road story. Once you know whether Zane Cordy's in or out, then you know the other one's in or out, and the other way is true as well. So it's grand final week. It's a selection story. I'm chasing it hard. No one cares whether Ryan Gardner's dropped in round 17, but in grand final week, it's a story.
Yep.
So I got the story, and I made sure that he knew and those close to him knew before I reported it.
How did you do that?
Yeah, that's
Because
what-
I had sources around the situation.
Got it.
So,
you got them.
by knowing that he already probably got the information from Bevo at the time.
Correct. So he knew, and I knew that people around him knew. Now, I didn't know, what I found out in hindsight is not everyone around him knew. He hadn't had time to call his grandparents, but I don't have his family tree. I knew that his partner knew and others
that's close
to
enough. That's good enough though, isn't it? The reality is.
I mean, if you're actually going to be technical, like, I don't have to wait for any of that. It's a selection story. He's dropped. He's out.
Yeah.
But I tried to do the right thing, which is why when Bevo sprayed me, I thought to myself, hang on, I've gone everything by the book here. I've texted the media manager, Adrian, at the time at the Western Bulldogs, and I said, I've got this story. I'm going with it in a few minutes' time. Just give me the heads up. And he said, no worries. Thanks. So he got the heads up. I knew that Ryan Gardner knew. I did the story, and then I still got in trouble for it. And I was like, hang on, this is ridiculous.
So that's obviously where it fell over, is that personal, emotional side of it that it's
Yeah.
hard for you to know unless.
And Chris Grant messaged me and said, I can't believe you've done this, Tom. Poor Ryan Gardner's beside himself. And I'm thinking to myself, he knew, and people around him knew. But I get that it's an emotional moment in grand final week as well. So I understand that side of it. And then the next game the Western Bulldogs played was against Melbourne in round 1 the next year. And I got a story that Lockie Hunter was dropped. Not as big as grand final week, but nevertheless a story. And I thought to myself in that moment, I was like, you know what? I've gone by the book last time. Yep. I've spoken to the media manager. I've made sure, and I still got a spray from the club and Bevo. So this time, I'm just going to do it. So I went out with it, and Lockie Hunter dropped, and he knew Lockie Hunter that he was out, and that's when Bevo blew up in his press conference.
Right.
So you can see my thought process. Like, I've done everything by the book. I still get in trouble, and the next time I do it, I'm just going to do my job. Like, I'm not going to pander to anyone. But it's a difficult task because I understand it's more than just, it's not black or white. Like, players getting dropped, players being injured, players being traded, that's their lives. So you're constantly having to weigh up what is relevant and what's not. My personal view is team selection is like the oldest form of sports journalism. It's like, that is meat and potatoes. Like, who's in and who's out is just, that is like a fundamental part of the job.
Yep. Yeah. This is the part I think this intersection of emotion versus intellectual understanding. We've spoken about this before. That I'm pretty interested in how you sort of balance that internally.
It's really difficult.
Obviously, it weighs on you. You have to be considering, fuck, this is going to potentially either hurt someone's feelings, or maybe they're in a, like with the Jamara stuff that's happened over the last couple of days. Like, time of recording. I think Mitch Robinson had a bit of a spat at you on Twitter. I just saw very late last night.
Yep.
And thought, why not talk about it? But it's
sure.
another example of sort of this. There's players and coaches and football, inside the bubble, people wanting. Let's not make this individual, but media as a sector to understand this better than they do.
Yeah.
And then there's what you're saying here is you've got a very black and white job to do. You've got to report it, like you're saying with selection. It's that this is it. I've got information. I've told the club this is technically the process. Is there another thing that sits outside of all the rules on paper that you internally go, no, I'm not willing to have that impact on someone?
Well, mental health is a really difficult one. Because what impacts one person might not impact another person. And the Jamara situation was difficult, but my view is pretty rock solid on this. And I understand that not everyone agrees with this, by the way. Like, Mitch Robinson disagrees, that's fine. And I'm sure Jamara would disagree as well. But my view is that and I said this on air actually, when Jamara goes away and seeks mental health support, that shouldn't be reported on. And I said this on Footy Classified, I said on the radio, because there was a story that he was in a health retreat on the Gold Coast. And I said on air that we shouldn't know where he is or what he's doing.
You did say that, and I'll back you on that one. You absolutely said that.
So I'm not trying to make myself seem high and mighty here, but my view is once you leave the club to get that support, whatever you do, whether you go to London, whether you're in Gold Coast, whether you're in Melbourne, no camera should follow you. No one should ask you questions. You go get that support.
When does that... sorry, I'm jumping in and out.
Sorry.
When does that become a public interest story? So imagine that's public interest versus
it becomes
salacious.
a public interest story if in that time the Western Bulldogs decide to cut his contract or he decides to retire. It becomes a footy story then. But for that period of time, whether it's 10 days or 30 days or 60 days, my view is that's that.
Yeah.
Equally, my view is once you come back to the club, things change again.
Right.
So once you come back to the club and you're training, then you're a footballer. And you're doing a podcast, which you're entitled to do. So you are then putting yourself out in the media. And it's one of those ones where mental health intersects with a really tough upbringing, which intersects with, like unreliable behaviour, which is admitted to, and breaking the trust of teammates, which is also conceded that's what's happened. And my view at the time was, and I didn't blow the story up like it was leading the news, but and I confirmed with the club and they knew I was going to go with it. Yep. So again, I ticked those boxes. But when you are late to training, 5 days after coming back to the club, at a time when you've been notoriously unreliable for a variety of reasons, it must be said, then I think that's worth mentioning. That's my view. But if Marcus Bontempelli was late to the club, I don't think that's a story.
Right.
But I get that it's not everyone's cup of tea, but I had to weigh that up. The club wasn't surprised. They knew that I was going to go with the story. I gave them a good heads up, and I knew that it would cop some backlash. But I think it paints a picture, and I said this on air. It paints a picture how delicate this situation is. I actually said those words, like, this is a delicate situation with someone who's been through a difficult time, who's going through a difficult time. But I think once you're back at training and playing footy, media and journalists are entitled to report on what you are doing with your training and when you're there and when you're not there.
I sort of took myself out of it. As I was looking at it, I think I texted you last night and said, "Hey, bits going on.
Yeah,
we might have a
happening
bit
in my
more to
world
talk
at the moment.
Yeah. I sort of just sat there and, in fact, I texted you, Vedra, as well. And said I'm in the sauna, decompressing and thinking about
I
this.
get a text message.
But what do you,
No, it's
but what
probably
do you think
unfunny.
of that? And you're allowed to disagree.
Yeah.
Like I'm not saying that I am the oracle, but that is my thought process in that period of time.
I tried to take the individual instance out of it and put myself, and I'll just declare it, like I've been in a similar situation to what Jamar has been at different points of my life, where it's been really, really bad mental health periods I've gone through. I've had to go seek help and go through different things. I'm in a good place now. I've had even, not addiction, but substance abuse problems and things like that. Surprise, surprise. That's half the jokes that I sort of parody out on this page are like this introspective, why the fuck am I doing this, 10 years ago? So I tried to sort of just put myself, one, I know in your shoes, and now I have a very good understanding of that from what you're telling me. And then in Jamara's shoes, me back then, and if, this seemingly small thing, like, national television, he was late for training, which I probably wouldn't have even made a ripple in the ocean for almost everyone, but maybe in my case back then, if that was me then, I've come out, I've done my 30 days and I'm feeling all right. I'm on track here. Whether I am or I'm not, I don't know with Mara. I hope he is, and I think he's doing pretty well. But he might be right on that edge of, oh, come on, give me a break. I'm back.
Which is also
probably
fair
where that big emotional reaction might have come from. So that's why I keep sort of...
I want to make it very clear. I'm not critical of anyone that's critical for me for reporting this. I understand that people have different views, and that's absolutely fine. But I did wait up, and I spoke to the club, and I just decided to say it. But if you actually listen to what I say this is not a big thing. It just highlights how delicate this situation is. That's how I framed it.
And that's what I was saying. I was trying to take the individual instance out of it because it's my honest opinion, and Mara and everyone will be listening, I don't think that was a big deal, that particular one. And that's why I was so interested in how it played out, because, okay, if it's not a big deal and you see a big emotional reaction from different areas, and I'm, again, guilty as charged with going way too hard if it's, things like the
so is the story worth
down.
it? Is the story worth it is the question.
I would say no. Like, at time again, I'd probably say not worth it.
Yep. And that's a fair point.
I mean, if I'm stripping it back and I'm a journo in that position, I'm going, what do I achieve out of that?
The juice is often we don't report more than we do report.
And that's an interesting thing to
what we
ask
know,
too.
We often leave on the cutting room floor because you're trying to protect the people that are involved. And this is not a Jamara thing, this is a general footy thing. Like, I've come across a number of things in the past where you're just better off just leaving that alone. So you're constantly weighing up, like, what is worth it, what is not. And my fundamental thing is always, well, if it's at the footy club, if it's around the footy club, it's a footy story. But that might not be popular with everyone. So, it's been an interesting few days, that's for sure.
That's what I was umming and ahhing about when we say, is it worth it or not? It goes into a bigger pie, maybe a bigger story in a couple of weeks. That's what I was weighing up. Do you do it in a couple of weeks if the behaviour continues and it becomes this is now a problem, or do you go with it then? But then there's this other thing that you're explaining, that behind the scenes you have no idea how much someone like yourself may know and is not reporting on. So it's just it's a hard one to answer without knowing.
It's an interesting one, Jim, because I sit on the fence both ways.
Yeah, you can hear both arguments.
Yeah, and I can see both, and I'm always the other way. It's like, in a footy club, it's a footy issue.
Yeah.
If I'm a teammate of his and he's late to training, like he's trying to build trust, I'm probably calling him. It's like, hey, mate, do you want me to pick you up tomorrow morning? We'll get a coffee on the way through. That's the way I look at it, and I want to know.
Point.
And then probably in a few weeks' time, when he puts some runs on the board, that's the story that, you know what, he's made some really good inroads. The leadership of the footy club, and to be honest, they got one of the best. Bont, he's one of the best humans. He's obviously going to play milestone this week. But I reckon that's probably what's happening behind closed doors as well. So
Interesting.
I think there is... I don't know, maybe he lost his car this week, it's been stolen. That's why he was late to training. I don't know. There's traffic around Footscray. I don't know, or Port Melbourne. I live in the bush, mate. There's no traffic for me. But that's what I'm hoping is happening behind closed doors. So as an athlete and a teammate of his, that's what I'm hoping the leadership and senior players are doing. But as a spectator, he's now back in within the four walls of a footy club. I still believe it is a footy issue or a footy topic. So then, once, as you said, the mental health.
Yeah.
It's funny because the mental health can be taken both ways. I think it has been used in football as cop-outs. I think we're now as an industry, we're actually getting better to understand mental health because that's where we are in society. But at the same time, like this is an isolated incident. And when I say incident, Jamara just as a thing, not just being late, he's dealing with a lot as well. And we can't just say like what happens to one person happens to another because everyone's got different upbringing, circumstances and what's going on.
Yeah,
So
sure.
I sit both sides of the fence, but at the same time, I want to sit here and go, I come back to the first question. It's like media pay our bills. Don't take the paycheck, mate, if you're not willing to take the criticism. And that's another really touchy
It's a hard one.
situation.
And I genuinely, like, before you even continue, the fact that you're willing to have this conversation.
Yeah.
and I think it's great.
Yeah,
I don't think many would.
People are really passionate about this. I mean, I see what people have said about me on social media, and that's okay. Like, people have strong views. And I'm not saying I've been right every single time as well. Like, I've got things wrong in the past. And who knows, in a week or a month or a year, I might look back on this and go, maybe I got that wrong. Like, that is a possibility because I've got an evolving mindset that isn't rock solid all the time. But I got it wrong in 2019 when I reported that the story was accurate, but I wish I didn't report that Steve May was having a beer on a Sunday. You know, like, he was injured at the time. He was having a beer. I didn't know what he was going through in his personal life at the time. I've found out since. And we went to school together, Steve and I. Like, we played footy together. We knew each other really well. And we completely fell out over that because he was like, what are you doing, Tom? Why are you reporting that I'm having a beer when you're injured? And the story behind that is I called the club and said, you know, are you happy that an injured player is having a beer? Like, in a way, I dobbed on him, which I really regret.
Did you care though?
No, I didn't care.
Exactly. I think that's probably why you feel bad about it because you didn't.
I didn't care,
you didn't
but-
come from
but-
a place of authenticity.
But Melbourne cared.
Yeah.
So Melbourne said to me, we think this is terrible. He needs to front the leadership group. This is not on. So the story was that Steve May needs to front the leadership group and explain why he was drinking when he was injured. And I justified it like that. But I'm thinking to myself, that wasn't worth it. Like, I've known Steve for 15 years. I played footy with him. I know him really well. Thankfully, we're in a good place now. But in hindsight, like, I just wish I just left that story. So I'm not trying to pretend that every single thing I do, I then tick off and go, nah, everyone else is wrong. I'm aware of the narrative around it.
Do you think other journalists would break that same story today?
The ones I've spoken to, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Interesting. What
Because
do you
I-
think about that?
About Steve May, you mean? Or
Yeah. Say that was to happen
one.
again. Do you think they would break that same story? And do you think that's
the
okay?
fact that they would break it.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I'm not
You
critical.
probably wouldn't, right? You're saying you.
Yeah, I don't
might
think I
not?
would now.
Yeah. Do you think they
I
would?
mean, I like to think I wouldn't, but yeah, I
Is that because you've also grown in 7 years
Yes.
as a journalist and also stature too within credibility within footy clubs and industries as well?
I think people who disagree with me on the Jamara situation might laugh at this, but I feel like I've grown and learned what I should do and what I shouldn't do. But I wouldn't be critical of a journo who reported that now, just like I wasn't critical of the journos who reported that Jamara was off to a mental health retreat, even though I didn't do it. But I think a journo would report that. Yeah.
Yeah. What's your view on accountability in journalism? Because it's something that, you know, talking about who pays the bills now feels like there's a little bit of free reign with journalists sometimes.
Are we naming names?
Uh,
I'm not.
Sorry.
There's obviously a really big one happening at the moment in the footy industry involving St Kilda and South Australia, like Adelaide.
Oh yeah, Wangan and Miller stuff.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
that
yeah,
one's
yeah.
a really interesting one.
Oh, it's fascinating.
And I maybe I'll put my foot in here. Like, both players have come out and said, we don't have an issue.
Yeah, there's lots
But
of
obviously the reporters doubling down.
Yeah, Caro tripled down, didn't she?
Yeah.
And Caro's been an amazing mentor for me. Like, she's been awesome. But on that situation, you know, before I start all that, there's plenty of stories that are accurate that get denied.
Yep.
You know, like,
So true.
you know, it happens all the time. The best example I can remember is I reported midway through 2017, I think it was, that Josh Shackey had packed up his stuff and wanted to trade at the end of the year.
Was that
I
you?
can fill you in more on that one too, actually.
Former teammate, wasn't he?
No, I left for that spot, mate. I could fill you in another.
Right, okay. And then 2 weeks later, he resigns for 2 years. And I'm going,
No, not 17. 17's the year he went to the
Mate,
Dogs.
16 then,
16,
16.
17.
feed him that story via
No, man. I think that's the year I got a phone call saying, mate, do you really want to retire? And I was like,
oh, right, okay.
Yeah, you can put your dots together.
It's all
right?
connected.
Yeah, yeah.
So he's packed up, I know he's packed up his stuff in Brisbane and he's moving back to Victoria.
Yep.
And I'm thinking, and then 2 weeks later, he resigns for 2 years. I'm going, anyway, it was what we call a denial re-signing. They just announced that he re-signed to ease the pressure. and then he got traded 5 minutes before the end of the trade period and went to
Dogs,
the
Tony.
Western
I was trying to
Bulldogs.
rack my brain because hold on, no, he didn't. He did leave.
That's right. So everyone denied it. Like his manager said, no, he's staying. But that was just to ease the pressure on him. You know, so
Right.
there's denial stories all the time. So, you know, for me, a manager or anyone else denying a story is neither here nor there because it happens all the
So
time.
is Matty Real actually coming to Collingwood?
no, he's done. He's
Do
re-signed.
you ever pay for a story? Do you ever
No.
flick someone a few sheets?
The only time that we've offered, I hope I can say this, the only time we've offered to pay for a story is when Michael Voss tackled a criminal last year.
Who'd you have to pay?
Well, no, what
criminal.
So
Corruption.
What Michael Voss did, so it was outside a cafe called, I can't
It's in
remember.
Carlton somewhere, isn't
Nah,
it?
it was in Malvern. Anyway, he tackled this young kid who had a knife, and Michael Voss, as he chased him down, filmed the whole thing.
That's so.
And I'm going, we need this footage.
Get the GoPro on his chest.
This footage.
Whatever it takes.
So we said to Carlton, look, we can't pay Michael Voss. That's sort of against our ethics. But
Yeah.
what we can do is we can donate to a charity of his choice. So we'll donate, I don't know, it was $1,500 to a charity of his choice if he gives us the footage.
Yeah.
And they thought about it, and he said, no, I'm not going to do that. That's fine. That's the only other time it's happened.
Might as well,
we
might as
were-
well wrap up the pod there. Then. I was actually hoping to make some money. I've got a few. I've got a bit of mail for you.
Any time anyone offers to give me stories for money, I just say nah. Like,
Yeah.
Fucking hell.
'Cause,
What
like-
about for an advance hair voucher or something?
Go on, 20% off. Yeah.
I've been looking over at Vedran's phone for like 20 minutes. I can see he's had this up for a while.
Oh,
And
this
I know what he's
isn't
gonna.
this isn't what I was referring to, but it is also related. This is, I'll tell you what I was referring to first.
yeah.
The bartender from my local pub.
Yep. Which is what pub?
Which part?
I don't want to name my sources.
All right,
I don't want to name my sources.
All right, mate.
No, he's good. He's learned. He's
I've learned
learned. He's
that from
learned.
Tommy.
He's learned.
Went to school with one of the Saints VFL players, and he told him that Naz was re-signing for another 2 years.
The
I'm
Saints
happy
now.
to sell you that story.
No worries. No,
Find a
Saints
report.
fan over here. Saints fan over
Probably
here.
could have guessed that.
I don't know what Naz is doing, but I know that Naz has been horrified by that story
Hmm.
around because he has told people that I really trust it's just not true. So
And that's
I believe that.
as a punter, I find it so fascinating because it's still going on. 3 weeks post? Caro's obviously super adamant that her sources are correct.
Well, Nazai called Tex and said, "Mate, I'm
and that's
telling you, it's
and
not
as,
true."
as an athlete, you're like, gee, that's a
But
that's
also-
a big
How would
step.
that have happened? Run me through like what's like has one of Caro's mates?
I don't know.
text her, like no, just like obviously that's just
she
the
would have
topical
connections
example,
left, right,
but,
centre.
but rough
Hypothetically.
like what do you-
Hypothetical other person.
hypothetical kind
So
of
my
example.
sense on that story, and I don't know this for sure, is that someone is trying to destabilise Adelaide Football Club and make them seem like it's not a destination for an Indigenous person to go and play.
Okay, so it's Koshi.
I reckon. Now, we haven't explicitly said his name, but it's Kane Corns. I've had enough of him, that.
But I don't know. I'm just hypothesising.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's been a bizarre story. That's
That's even interesting stuff that people can use and you pull these levers
Well,
and
Roy
things in the
Sloan said
background.
that last night on Footy Classified. So he was saying last night that he can think of 3 or 4 examples of clubs making up fibs about rival clubs so that the players they're trying to get don't go there.
And this is a whole, this is another topic for another day, Jim. Like,
be good at that.
this happens on a day-to-day basis. And especially like Adelaide's just got their shit together after that Influence camp.
Yeah,
like,
training camp.
And they're playing really
Which
good.
was also denied initially because I did that story and people said, "No, that is incorrect." And
What I love now about that camp is it's still getting drip fed little bit by little bit.
Yeah.
You're like, wow.
Yeah, I know.
This is why I do a little thing called receipts, which is enormously tongue-in-cheek, but I like to
hope
just
so.
keep records of everyone's tweets, every journalist,
Yeah.
myself included. I copped it by myself last week for my work with the South Africans last week.
Oh, yes.
But just how things age over time. And the Caro one, like, Jesus Christ, what do you do there?
See, Kara's legacy is incredible, and I really rate her work. So I'm hesitant to criticise any of her work, but I just can't understand that story. That story I can't quite understand.
So do we wait 3 months and wait and see him?
We
correct
might
in
never know.
October?
I mean, if he doesn't go to Adelaide, we might know. But if he goes to Adelaide, then it will be wrong.
Yeah.
You know, if he goes to Adelaide, then it's wrong. But until then, we're just not quite sure.
And so, how often do you have days where you go, "Fuck, this is a very slow news day"?
all the time.
I need to run with something, but I've got absolutely nothing. And did this happen yesterday?
No, it didn't happen
Because
yesterday.
you've reported something that I think I really
It's
respect
boring.
your work, but fuck me.
What
this
was
is-
it?
This is the most obvious thing I've ever seen in my life.
What was it?
Corey Enright,
Oh, yeah.
unofficially earmarked as Ross's replacement. Like, duh. Like, fuck me, Tom. That is
Well,
not
I mean,
you.
you say that, but then a lot of the people that responded to that were like, Oh, really? I thought Robert Harvey was going to be the guy.
No.
Or Lenny Hayes was
Ross
going to be the
talks
guy.
about it in his presses every second week.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Enright, what does he say? Enright, Hayes, and Harvey. He's always praising those guys. But Enright's always the one. He sits because as a Saints stuff, you know what happens in the box. Enright sits next to him in the box, and the other two have been relegated. So Harvey's
the
been
man.
relegated down to the end of the box.
He's got a game plan and strategy.
He's
Game
kind
of
got
Thrones
Enright
stuff
there,
playing
giving him a
out.
little
Look, to
nudie.
answer your question, a lot of the time you come in to work and you're like, what is happening today? So you just go through your phone and you're like, okay, I'll just speak to this person. So I might give Travis Cloak a call.
Very similar to your day, Jim. Like, gee,
That's great.
But other days, too much stuff is happening. And so yesterday, not a lot was happening. And then all of a sudden, Damien Hardwick got fined $2,000 for flipping the bird. And then Gold Coast want Fox Footy to pay for it because that was on 360. So
Yeah. That
there was
smells like a
enough
slow
stories in the
news day that they've gone, this could be fun.
Yeah.
One question I was actually thinking about this morning on the drive in.
Is it Saints related?
No.
Oh, here we
everything
go.
has been.
Never be
not,
too
it's
sure.
not. So obviously, do you guys have any, being the chief footy reporter, do you guys have any meetings with the AFL of them being like, hey, report whatever you want to report, but give the umpires a rest because we're copping a bit of heat? Do they ever do that type of stuff, or do they just kind of let you report on whatever you want?
Yeah. People think that reporters are in the AFL's pocket.
Yeah.
And it's true you have to have a good relation. You don't have to. It is preferable to have a good relationship. But if you want to report something, no one can stop you.
Got it.
The AFL's not saying you can't do that. They might try to talk you out of it. And that's been the case before where I've had an AFL story and they'll try to spin it, which is their job. Or media managers always try to spin particular stories. But no, I'm beholden to Channel 9 and my boss is not the AFL. And if I wanted to criticise the umpires 3 times a week, I could. I just get a bit bored of umpire criticism. I think it's a low-hanging fruit. Yes, I think the umpires can make bad mistakes. There's been bad mistakes this year. Some of the rules are bizarre. But if honestly, we can have a full show every Sunday night talking about mistakes on the weekend, and I'll just be a bit bored of that as well.
I will say, from personally, it bores the shit out of me. Whenever any show goes into umpiring.
But occasionally
rule
there's a
changes.
key late decision that you need to talk
Yeah.
about. But most of the time, I agree. Like I get a bit bored of the umpire.
When it's that, I understand it. But then when you turn on, I'm an SEN man. You turn it on in the morning and go, right, what are we in for? And you're on, and it's good. Oh, good. And then we're into Jared, and he's talking about the rule. He's done an editorial on the rule again.
Or the MRO. Do you like the tribunal stuff? Because I get bored of the tribunal and MRO stuff.
I get a bit bored of that.
That's a
too.
reality.
The Dave
what it
Zeta
is.
special.
The David Zeta special. Yeah.
Who does a podcast in here, by the way?
He does the tennis one, does he?
Yes.
Oh, does he?
He's
Yes.
sitting right here.
So he's had a big couple of weeks as well.
He delivered his apology.
Yeah, he did. So I believe I understand the MRO table as well as anyone else in the media because I'm a nerd and I've lived and breathed it. But I'm not interested in it. Like it doesn't.
So does it blow your mind though when the ruling comes out and it's this, and this, and you're like, that's just a footy ache?
Yeah, I think the system. I think the system is broken.
Yeah.
Like I think it's ridiculous that you can tackle someone slightly wrong and get 3 weeks,
And it's all to
and
do
you
with
can
the
whack
outcome.
someone in the guts or even in the chin.
Open hand too, by the way.
Yeah, whatever it is, and get
Dacos.
Yeah, or that Dacos one. But you can intentionally do something that could hurt someone and get 1, and then tackle someone, which is a football act, and get 3. But
Grinds my gears.
yeah, it's
that shit.
frustrating.
It's
Imagine
just-
missing an entire final series because your tackle is held on for slightly long. But
Trent Cotchin almost missed that granny.
We-
Paul
should've.
Curtis just cost North Melbourne the finals with that tackle.
Paul
But
Curtis.
do you think that's gonna? Do you think? Can you see some light at the end of the tunnel? Who just got appointed? The
Greg Swan.
Walshy? Oh,
Greg
Swan. No, what?
Swanee?
from Brizzy.
Swan.
Well, Greg, Walsh is
Tom Harley?
interim.
Yeah.
Tom Harley, yeah.
Do you think between them two
Hopefully.
footy guys, real fucking
Yeah.
types,
Salt of the
salt of the
earth.
earth types?
Just grip your hands
Yeah,
until
yeah,
the
yeah,
word
you know,
comes.
Premiership captain, Tom Harley.
Do you
Yeah.
think that there's a bit of light at the end of the tunnel with how some of this stuff's been managed? I'm particularly speaking with the MRO stuff. 'cause
Hopefully, yeah. Well, what's important is the legal counsel, Stephen Mead, who was on the AFL executive, is now no longer in the AFL executive,
Yeah.
which tells me, whether it's philosophical or real, that there's going to be less emphasis on the legal side of things and more emphasis on footy people making footy decisions,
I
which is
think
what
that's
we want.
is that a story broken there? Do we
Bloody oath.
tweet that one out?
Harry?
That's an opinion broken there.
Yeah, good.
These boys are good out there. Like,
I know what they're doing.
yeah. Good questions from you boys.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been researching this for long and hard.
Now, this is we've warmed you up for the big one.
Oh, here we go.
What do you got,
Do you have a hand coach?
I was following this. You two were like chatting about it. I was like,
So, would you like to explain to the listeners who don't know what a hand coach is and
general
Trav?
like me.
Now,
Yeah,
I
You might
again,
get some weird ideas. What it
yeah I'm
means.
just like, there you go.
at risk of being
Hello.
called a scraper by Hutchie, which is a new term that he's coining
You're a
for
scraper, aren't
podcast.
you?
I think he is. And
Really?
far be it from me to be narcissistic here, but I think he is talking about us directly and only us.
Rapers.
He's talking about podcasters and
Digital
content
influencers.
Yes.
I got an issue with Hutchie. We'll talk about that.
I just listen to Gary and Wisp in the morning on my drive in and just regurgitate stuff.
Yeah.
Do you really?
Yeah, absolutely. Why not? Fuck me, I don't have time to research.
So Hutchie's got, and Hutchie and Damo, they sort of that podcast. They sort of pick apart media, explain it. It's a good podcast. They've been on one with you for a couple of weeks now about that. There's been whispers through Damo, I believe, that there is a hand coach at Channel 9 who's coaching Tom on where to put his hands when he's on camera, and that's evolved.
We got the same issue then with Hutchie hands.
What do you mean?
Well, Hutchie's at me about a glove.
Oh,
Hutchie's at you about your hands.
I forgot that was you. That was you, wasn't it? When he held it in the Sunday Footy show.
like Hutchie and I got gripe, so we're on the same page.
Trav, this is now, look, we've tried that many times. Before we continue, can we try one more time? We've tried to get Hutchie to come in, and we
Just
can't get to
clarify
it.
this.
We want him to come in, sit in that chair, glove. We're doing the test again.
Even not with a soccer ball. You know what I mean? Like,
footy,
don't get me wrong, it was sticky. Had a little bit on. But he's used a wet weather soccer ball on it.
I'm talking full-scale mediation. Maybe it's not this set. Maybe
You
it's
should get him in.
I want.
Knowing Hutchie, you probably have to go to him, to be honest. He's a busy man.
Right.
So get to SEN.
I'll catch him at an airport as he's checking
So
in. But yes.
Tom Steinford, who's the newsreader on one of the newsreaders on Channel 9, and he's an award-winning journalist. He's been to North Korea twice. Like, that's how good he is. Like, he's an incredible journalist.
Get on board
I'm
that.
going to North Korea, by the way.
Private jet.
Yeah, worldwide.
Okay, that's unbelievable.
Global and trending we are.
So he walked over to my desk, and I did a story on Ed Richards, who signed a 5-year deal. And as part of the story, you have a few what we call two shots. So a one shot is when one person's on screen, a two shot is when two people are on screen.
Yeah.
And there's quite a few two shots in this story because they want, the editors want to make it look like I'm doing it. Like it's about me, it's about Ed Richards, which is ridiculous. Anyway, and what I learned when he gave me the feedback is that when you're walking next to someone and you're being filmed, you can't just have your hands dangling next to your body. It looks awkward. Looks like you look like a complete nerd. So he said you've got to do one of two things. You've either got to play with your wedding ring, which I don't wear, or put your hands in your pocket. So I put my hands in my pocket now when I walk next. So that's hand coaching. So he's taught me a few things about, like, when you're wearing a suit, do both buttons up, one button up, or buttons undone. There's various other little tricks of the trade that I've learned from him. Anyway, Hutchie and Damo picked this up and they've run with it.
Are they at least taking the piss with that?
Oh, yeah, taking the piss. Yeah.
It's absolutely.
But it's real,
tongue-in-cheek.
like, deep media stuff, like, what are you doing with your hands when you're walking next to someone? Who cares?
I'm going
It got me
to
thinking-
be walking down the street just thinking about it now.
That's what happened yesterday, mate. I'm walking around. I've got this thing on. I'm standing up now. Do I put the top button?
One button up.
So I did a
sit down,
story
undo it.
with Jack Sinclair last week. He played his 200th, and my hands were deep in my pockets. It looked a lot better.
So not even thinking about what's going on.
No,
It's
no.
like, how do I hold these away?
The other one they talk about, hey, we're scraping now. Well, it's great. This is what he means. But the frame me in thing.
Oh, yeah.
I love that. That's brilliant.
Yeah, well, that's what a two-shot is. Tony Jones said to me, I hope I'm not breaking any confidence here. TJ Chompers said to me on my first day at Channel 9 in January last year, if you do a story with a player, it's as much about you as it is about
I love
the
that from
subject.
him, though. That's
Which is
so true.
And my eyes were putting in my head. I'm like, who cares? Anyway, as a result, the amount of time, on camera time I get when I do a story with someone is on about parody with the person that I'm talking about, which is just absurd.
Now that these guys are keeping tabs on it, do you almost lean in and go, I'm not going to have someone...
I'm leaning in.
Oh, good.
Yeah, you got to lean in. Frame me in.
So it's more the subtleness now behind doors
Yeah,
for you guys.
it's like I've got
The public
my,
won't notice
I'm
it.
nodding like this. I did one with Braden Maynard recently, and I was nodding at one of his answers. And if you actually go back and look through the initial edit, I just told him to sit still while the camera filmed me nodding.
Please, can we get this footage?
No, you can't get the footage. But that's the tricks of the trade, We've only got one camera, so it makes sense. How can they film him and me at the same time? They
The old,
can't.
sit here, pretend we're talking.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
film
yeah.
from here.
Yeah, they call them
From
noddies.
there.
They call them
Yeah.
noddies. You got to nod like this, or handies like this.
So
Yeah.
funny.
There's that. The quote out of that, I think, what we need to frame and just put on the wall there with a picture of Tony is it is as much about you as it is about
The subject.
them. The subject, sorry.
Yeah, that's
Quote,
right. And he said that.
right.
Yeah, and I still remind him of it, and he openly talks about, no, that's exactly what it is.
I'm with him. It's all about us.
And if you actually watch his stories, he did one recently because they recovered the second half of the 1964 grand final. Rhett Bartlett, the historian from Richmond Football Club, did Collingwood, Melbourne, And the story starts with Tony Jones sitting next to Des Tuddenham, looking at the computer where they're watching the footage.
Tony would have been busy looking for himself anyway. The whole week.
You actually don't have a camera today. It's all there's just three cameras.
1963.
64.
So he was 3 years old.
Tony Jones.
Tony Jones.
Yeah. But they're watching it.
They're watching it.
watching
They're
it.
watching it on like
Quote.
Computer.
not live, mate. Or he's not
Oh,
there.
I was like, what? Oh, no. Well, straight away I was like, fuck, how old's TJ?
Well, I explained it pretty clearly, didn't I?
I did too. Yeah. Don't worry, he's halfway home. Story. I
That's
better
right.
Google it.
Speaking of TJ,
Yes.
who is the fucking don of media in Australia, sports media?
Well,
in
who do-
Australia?
well,
Is
who
it
do you
Hutchie? Is it TJ? Who just calls the shots? Has the puppet? Who does that?
It's hard to pick one person, I reckon. So you could go for Mike Sheen. I mean, the media centre at the MCG is named Mike Sheen Media Centre. Did you have a good relationship with Mike?
Yeah, quite good. It was more dad's era, obviously.
Yeah.
But still got along well. We still cross paths here and there.
Yeah. So Caro, Mike Sheen, what's his name? Clive.
Who does that?
Keep
Like
punching.
Palmer.
Palmer.
Clive Palmer?
Clive Palmer.
No, not
quote
Clive.
that. Tom Morris says Clive Palmer.
It's not Clive Palmer. It's not Clive Palmer. Anyway, I was thinking of Arnold Palmer, the golfer.
No, I know the one you're talking about.
Keep punching.
He was
Clive.
the age for many
Yeah,
years.
yeah.
Oh yeah, he had that. Oh God,
Google
the
it
big
up.
glasses.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
Just-
is not
just Google
craft
Palmer.
right here, lads.
That's okay. So there's like the older generation, and then you've got the icons at the moment, like Gerard Whateley, Anthony Hudson when it comes to commentary, Jake Nile, speaking of the Claw, that sort of stuff. So I think those guys, it's hard to, and Hutchie obviously, I mean, the way that Hutchie has turned his career from being essentially what I'm doing now into a media mogul, and he owned the Perth Wildcats. He's got a call team in the West Indies commentating Test cricket.
Yep.
Like he's done unbelievably well. So probably they're the names I reckon. But the one I looked up to when I was growing up was Clinton Gribus, who passed away. And he was actually my age now when he passed away. But he hosted White Line Fever on Fox Footy.
did.
Do you remember that?
Yeah,
Which
yeah.
was talkback TV.
Yes.
So people would call up. He'd sit there with, I think, Terry Wallace or Wayne Carey on another night. I can't remember. I don't think there was a studio audience. And they'll just talk footy for an hour. And that was early days.
That was a
Jared
great show.
Healy which was talking footy, and Robert Walls. So these are the names I grew up watching. And if you told 10-year-old me that I'd be on air with James Hird and Jimmy Bartell and last year Lee Matthews, I would have said that's just ridiculous. So I have great gratitude that I'm able to do this and even mix with these sorts of people.
So who's the one person that you've sat down and interviewed or worked with that's really got you going? Like who is it? Like the 10-year-old self? You say Lee
Probably
Matt-
Adam Gilchrist, I reckon.
Yeah?
Oh yeah,
probably.
that'll get us
One.
going.
That's
Yeah.
a great segue. I want to talk cricket. with you.
Because footy, I loved footy growing up, and I still love footy now. I loved Melbourne Footy Club growing up, and now it's fair to say like I'm a bit more lukewarm.
Yep.
I still, when Melbourne won the flag, it was great, but you sort of lose that childhood passion that you had when you're a kid.
Yeah, when Maisie punched you in the head.
Maisie punch in the head didn't help. Yeah. But cricket was always my number one.
But that's when we could follow cricket properly too.
Yeah, that's right. But Gilchrist's debut test was my first test that I remember as well against Pakistan at the Gabba. And then him and Justin Langer saw us home against Pakistan in Hobart. Amazing test match. And that's the start of my test watching life. And in that period, Australia won 16 test matches in a row. They won one in Zimbabwe, then they beat Pakistan and India and so on. I can go through them all. But Gilchrist was like my childhood hero. And then I'm working with him on Fox. I'm thinking to myself, what am I doing? And he's calling me Tommy. And I'm like, oh, he knows my name. Yeah. So he's probably the one. And I still pinch myself whenever we still talk sometimes. And I think to myself, I can't believe I'm calling him Gilly and I'm talking Adam Gilchrist. So
Pretty awesome.
It's pretty awesome, yeah. And there's others around that era as well, but Gilchrist and Warney, they were the main ones. Yeah.
I love that. And cricket, obviously a big cricket fan.
Yeah.
Do you see yourself? Do you think you'll balance both moving forward? Are you hoping to do more cricket, or what's that look like?
Look, I think in a perfect world, I'd love to travel the world and do cricket, but my strengths are in footy.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be able to do footy and stick with footy for as long as I can if I didn't have cricket in the summer. So I still do SEN cricket in the summer. Like they sent me to Sri Lanka in January, February. So having that outlet to do cricket helps my footy work.
Yeah.
So I've got great respect for like a Mitch Cleary who does footy all year round. Like he's going to trainings in November, December, and as soon as trade period's done, I check out of footy, and I'm probably back in sort of mid-January or late January. So I like that balance, sort of like 75% footy, 25% cricket.
The missus must love that.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's a discussion at the moment. It's like, so you're going to travel this summer? I'm like, yeah, because we got a 1-year-old. So I'm thinking, you got to start thinking of others. You can't just think of yourself all the time.
Well,
I mean,
it's up for
It could
debate.
be
Yeah.
tougher.
But she actually quite likes cricket, and you'd hope
Do
so.
they come
'cause-
with you as well sometimes?
Yeah, sometimes. And in my marriage vows, and I'm dead serious about this. If live sport's on the TV, that takes priority. There's not even a debate in our
So
household.
did that get a bit of a rouse at the wedding? Like
Yeah,
when
it
you
did,
went through it, everyone's like chuckled, but deep down you're like, no.
in
seriously,
her vows,
sure.
she knows, like, she actually said, if you're controlling the remote and it's live sport, I get it. So, like, it's very, like, it's a mandate that there's no discussion here. So if the Perth Scorchers are playing the Melbourne Renegades, we're watching that. And I'm watching. I'm
We're not
watching.
watching Housewives or something.
No, and she watches Below Deck and Real Housewives and all the rest of it. And I say, that's fine, you can watch it on the iPad, but on the TV,
Shuffling around car.
it's live sport.
Yeah.
And that's not just footy and cricket. That's if the Matildas are playing or
Yep.
the Socceroos are playing.
So you're a sports nuffy.
I'm a sports nuff, or the golf is on.
Yep.
That's what I'm watching.
I have
And
always
love it.
wondered how people like yourself do you just know everything? Well, before, like this, the amount of knowledge that you're getting, like how the hell are you getting all this information? Clearly, it's because you have 17 TVs
Because I'm a
going
nut.
at
Well, I
once.
end up watching on the weekend. I watch probably 6 or 7 games of footy a weekend.
Right.
And that's partly for work, but it's also because I love it. Like I love sitting down and watching a game of footy. It doesn't matter what the game of footy is.
Yep.
But I love cricket in the summer. But like I'm pumped tonight to watch West Indies Australia for midnight. Last night I sat up after I got home from classified and watched England chase down 350 against India.
Right.
The other morning I watched the US Open finish for 3 or 4 hours.
What's your contract like? Can we live stream some sort of West Indies watch along party at some point here?
Yeah, well, the thing is, it's like I just love watching sport, and I love following the narratives in sport. And the tennis is the same. One thing I can't get my head around is motorsport. Like they're amazing athletes, but and I've watched Drive to Survive, but I can't get my head around. I can't love Formula One, and I wish I could. And American sport, I like baseball, I like basketball, I like NFL, but there's a limit. Like if I loved all of them, I wouldn't have a life. So some would argue I'd have a life anyway. But it's very different. I've got mates who are accountants or who work in finance or are lawyers, and they can't watch the NBA at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday. Whereas I've got a TV on my desk, and just if 504 is no good, I'm going to 503 or 502 or 501. And if that's no good, I'll put on a YouTube clip of like Ashton Agar making 99 on debut against England in 2013.
So this cricket
there's
stuff
always
is very, very strong.
Yeah, I love cricket more than footy. Yeah.
I think we might need a bit of mentoring as we get into the summer because we're going to go extraordinarily hard.
Are you?
For the Ashes?
But can I just say, footy's a better sport than cricket. But I love the way that cricket just ebbs and flows, and you get a chance to breathe in cricket.
I think we
Footy's more
like the stuff, the stories that sit around cricket, like the characters, and you can kind of follow them a little bit more.
The political implications
Yes.
of Test match cricket.
The
We love corruption.
ancestry.
the
Yes,
corruption. Yeah.
Corruption.
What about the fact that you've got a Test championship table, and not everyone plays against each other?
Yeah.
So India and Pakistan don't play Test matches against each other, but yet we have a ladder that we're meant to believe. Like, can you imagine Collingwood saying, "Nah, we don't like Essendon. We're not going to play against them this year." Like,
Eddie used to do that, didn't he? Just say,
yeah, a little
He had a bit of pull on the fifth year, a little bit.
Oh,
yeah.
Eddie Maguire's someone I didn't mention before. I mean, he really is the doyen, and I've got to know him. I coached his sons at cricket at school, Joe, then Xander. And then I worked with Xander, and Eddie is like the king.
Yeah,
we cold called
he's
him a
the
few
king.
weeks
Oh,
back.
did you really?
We
Did he
cold
answer?
called him, he picked up, and it was a bit of a...
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Oh, but however, I think we all are in the same camp, other than Trav, that was AI, because we haven't really heard anything since.
Well, he's been overseas.
Wasn't FaceTime.
Oh, that's why
wasn't,
he hasn't called us. He's been overseas.
Yeah, right. Okay. So he hasn't followed up
He's
with
in
us.
Europe.
I'm sure he'll get back.
So can I actually read out? This is actually content. Can I read out a message that Eddie sent us?
Yeah, yes,
You ready for
please.
this?
And sorry, before you do, did he sign it off, Ed?
Yeah, sometimes he does that. Yeah.
Is that his thing? He just always
Every
says edit.
message, it's like Ed. It's like, no shit.
I hope he doesn't mind me read this out. Monday, June 16. So this is a couple of days into the Lord's World Test Championship final.
Yep.
So he was there, right? And he sends in our footy classified group with James Hurd and Jimmy Bartell and the producers. And Rory Sloane. Look forward to talking about my day at the cricket with Mick Jagger, Stephen Fry, Clive Lloyd, and Pat Cash, to name a few.
That's a fair tale to sit down.
that is a text.
This is unbelievable.
So that's Eddie. He knows everyone.
Yeah.
He's got if he called Dan Andrews the wrong sorry, that is the wrong. I meant to say Andrew Dillon.
Now, everyone who's a cooker listening right now and all that sort of
I
stuff.
want to call Dan Andrews. he could call any politician in the country and they would take his call.
Yeah.
He's amazing. And he's I'm sure he's helped you in the past. He's helped me massively.
Mate, he's one of the most respectful person, not just in footy, but in Plea Australia.
Yeah.
And he's the guy that every footy club would love to have.
Yep.
He just sells
fights
that
for the
club. Like
fans.
even now, like he's not like technically involved, but he's the number one supporter of the Collingwood Footy Club still.
He's barracking
He will
hard.
do everything.
And it's always like when Trav's had this great relationship with Ed, and like the fact that we're just mucking around. We had the couch over there doing our tests for the new studio thing, and Trav to just call him and go, yeah, all right, I'll call Ed. And the way that he speaks to Trav, and it's not like, what's this? I'll answer. It's just the great Travis. It's just there's the love there.
The great Travis Scott.
Yeah.
We're
The genuine
the
love
horse
there
that
is.
the family when I got drafted and that type of stuff. So
Yeah.
Filling
There was,
the
there was
story.
actually a new detail in that, wasn't there? A turtle.
Yeah, there was a turtle popped out from under his chair and popped up his pants. But I got to follow that up with Mum because I don't know about that one. Yet.
This is a real thing.
Jesus.
But yeah, he's got just the really. I've always admired it, watching how Ed's interacted with Trav. Obviously, I've been Trav's +1 for a long time
Yes.
at every function, and
He'll give time to anyone, Ed.
yeah, he seems like a great guy. I would vote for him if he was a politician tomorrow.
Well, I mean, I think there was a time where he was thinking about going into politics.
Really?
Yeah. Well, his brother is a politician.
I'd 100% vote for him.
Yeah,
Totally.
His brother Frank, it was Broadmeadows region, wasn't he?
That's right.
Yeah. It's tomorrow.
But Eddie was really the first great TV newsbreaker in footy. Like he would go on Channel 10 News and they would have a thing called Around the Traps, I think it was called, and he would do a 5-minute thing during the day. And at Collingwood, this is happening, and at Essendon, this is happening, and it was must-watch TV. Like he was the king, and then he started the footy show, which was must-watch TV, and then Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and then he was CEO of 9, and now I'm on a footy classified panel with him every Tuesday night, and you've got to pinch yourself.
Who's the most publicly the most liked media personality, do you think? I'm sure is there some sort of ratings that you guys can look at? Like,
I think maybe like a Jason Dunstall. I think
okay.
Yeah.
Or Billy
And that's just 'cause
Brownless.
he's a
Billy
good-
Billy
Yeah,
Brownless would have to
Billy
be.
Brownless. Yeah, I think
Likable characters.
Yeah, just Eddie
former
would have
players
to be
who
up
will
there.
love. Billy Brownless, yeah. Yeah, guys who are funny like that. Like Billy Brownless has got a great reputation and he's good at what he does.
Because I'm curious as to.
He's never going to be a journalist. I'll give you the hot tip.
Of course. Yeah. Well, I'm curious.
Something I came to.
Plays his role very well. And that's
Yeah,
Unless the
hilarious.
story's breaking at the at his local there in where is it? Fuck. next to
It's the
town.
the bot.
The bot.
He's always at the bot.
Who?
Yeah.
Billy. Oh, he's
Brownless.
always
Is it
he
mechanical?
lives, he lives on Anderson
Yeah,
Street.
yeah. Unless the
Well,
story's
we can't drop on
breaking at
exactly.
the
Oh, sorry,
bot,
sorry.
he's not reporting.
Somewhere near Anderson
Somewhere
Street.
in South Melbourne.
Because Eddie would be up there, and I think to myself, like, he's had such a storied career, and obviously Collingwood's probably like the most loved,
Yeah.
but also the most.
I think
hated
Bruce
club. How do
McAvaney,
people-
Dennis Cometti as well. They're loved, those callers. But no, you're never going to have a news-breaking journalist that's loved while they're a news-breaking journalist. And that's something I came to realise very early on, that you could report a story that's completely accurate and fair,
Yep.
and those fans think you hate their club. Like, Adelaide Football Club thought I hated them for reporting they had a training camp that was deeply disturbing for many of their players. So only recently, via Roy Sloan, that I've managed to realize, Adelaide people are pretty cool. Like, they're right.
Yeah.
So, you could report that Travis Cloak does a hamstring and Collingwood fans go, you hate us. You're like, well, hang on. That's what's happened.
Well,
me too,
you
don't
might
worry
be
about
able to report something. Hold on. Have we covered this?
No, we haven't.
talk
We
about
haven't
it,
covered it. I was going to go with it earlier, but I don't know how sensitive it is. But wait. We should get some sheets off the man first.
Oh yeah. So pay
Have you done a
ID.
hammy?
No, I might have tweaked the calf.
Can I say you are the most built buff runner I've ever seen in the
Because they give me
AFL.
an extra small
Yeah,
Guernsey
yeah.
get up, and now it's a running joke.
Yeah.
Every time I run past someone in the opposition runner, they just laugh and
Yeah,
chuckle at me.
it's quite
So
funny.
he's trying to get one of the e-scooters out next week just to
Oh,
ride that.
yeah, get out.
No, I'm all good, mate. It's been 10 days post. I've got still another 4 or 5 days up my sleeve. That's beautiful.
You'll be fine.
And
You've
I'm
got-
not quick, let's be honest.
You've got the Carlton draft
Carlton
game this
draft is
weekend.
Saturday, mate. Heathmere. Beautiful part of the
Oh,
world.
right, yeah.
Down towards Portland. 5.5 hour drive from home.
Lucky you're getting good sheets for that.
Yeah, you
The
would
good thing
think
about being the runner for Essendon, if you're a bit injured, there's lots of goals in your game, so you can actually roll in and
They're
roll
kicking
off.
them.
Yeah, okay, so
Take me time out there. No. I'm too busy getting out to make sure Nate's doing all right. looking
yeah.
after
Or Zach Merritt's playing the back pocket. Yeah.
Yeah.
Stay in the back pocket. Don't play midfield.
Nate Caddy, who since
He's a
coming on
jet.
here as a superstar, obviously.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
That was
Yeah.
the only reason he's going so well.
Yeah,
is
it's 'cause he's your
people
influence.
watch what your career
Can you
does
tell me
now.
when he's going to resign? Because I reported a couple of weeks ago that they're negotiating a contract extension. I believe it's going to be 2 years extension, but I'd like some confirmation on that, please.
I can't confirm come on.
Well, we're into him about our Qatari sort of endeavours that we're into, and I think the
right.
club's put a veto on that, and we're not allowed within
he's a
20
star.
feet of him.
He's a star.
But maybe we go to some questions. from the
Yeah,
page.
I reckon
Jim, what do you
we've
got
had
there?
some
What are the
sent
people?
in.
Yeah, there's
The
a lot.
leadership group, is that what they've done?
The leadership group, global and trending. This is
I'm nervous about these questions.
Yeah, well, this is going the general public.
I might even
These are
put, I might
people's
put the
people.
spectacles on. Actually,
Does this go out all in one big long podcast?
Yeah,
What
but then
a
we put
listen.
out clips. And
Did you be
things.
driving to Sydney and you just
Thank you,
finish?
mate.
Well, we're actually only at an hour 15.
It's fine, mate. I'm happy to talk.
That's a short
Rubbish all
one.
day,
Give us
don't
something,
worry.
jeez.
Yeah. We've only touched about 20% of the topics I could. Yeah.
It's small. I actually had things
No, we're
written
all
out.
too
It's just been a
hesitant that
good
we're going to
yarn.
bring up our own past. That's
Oh,
why
right,
like,
yeah.
you can't bring something
Everyone's
up.
got skeletons. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's fine.
What do we got here? Let's have a look. Let's
That'd
have
be
a look.
something good.
Oh, we didn't actually talk about. A little bit we talked about Bev, but the first thing I see on the page here is what is safe proximity to Bevo at the moment? Is it closer than 2 meters? Did you shit your pants sitting next to him that night?
No, I didn't shit my pants. Bevo, I've explained to you a bit of the Bevo story. He was defending his club, which is fine, but I was just reporting what I thought was just accurate team news twice. So I never had any hard feelings towards him. Even on that night, I thought, geez, that's wild. But I didn't think I wasn't offended by what happened. My phone blew up, obviously. But that classified was an awkward sort of moment. But it's also part of moving on. Like I don't want to hold. I never held a grudge, and he held a grudge for me for whatever reason. And I just wanted what we call like a no fault stand down. I don't want an apology. He's not going to apologize. I'm not going to apologise to him. Let's just try to move on. And we have. I've been to 2 media conferences at the Bulldogs since. He shook my hand. He's used my name. So we're fine. Yeah, we're not best mates, but we're fine.
He used my name. That's,
He did.
That's
He
how
said
we know
Tom.
we're over.
I said, "G'day, Tom. How you going?"
That's
There you
weird.
go. Yeah, it's a weird. Yeah.
the-
If he said, "G'day, mate," I would have been like, "Oh, I'm not sure about that."
Because he's got a new enemy in Corn.
Yes.
So-
Well, that's the
Exactly.
thing. He compares me to Corns and Damien Barrett, and I'm a distant third on that list.
No, I do love Bevo. So, but to be honest, I'm watching this whole thing play out, going, "This is very funny."
Yeah, it's fine.
just from where I personally
Yeah.
sit.
Well, it just blew my life up in a way that was like, nothing I'd ever seen before. Like that press conference that took place where he completely tore shreds off me was remarkable. And the amount of times I'm out or I'm with, friends or whatever, and someone comes up to me and they go, "You have the nerve," or they just start repeating what he said.
Which I
You've
get-
been preying on us.
Knowing Bev, I get the sense he would find that funny just now. As in the
hope so.
passage of time. I was watching that without knowing anything, going, I reckon he's going to, at some point, Bev's going to retire here, and that'll be the day that you two really go, all right.
Well, he came on the Footy Classified set, and I shook his hand, and we did the show. And
Yeah.
it was okay. And then he had a glass of red wine upstairs after with all of us. So, I don't think I'm in his top 2 grudges. That's
Yeah.
for sure. I think Kane and Damo are above me.
Why Damo is?
Damo
Damo
report.
done.
It was before I was a journalist. There was a story about
So he
the
does hold grudges then.
the Talia brothers. There was a story about.
Oh,
Do you remember that
yes.
story? And Damo was somehow involved, and Bevo allegedly got Damo up by a chokehold at the Brownlow, push him up against a wall. So I never copped physical
Jesus.
treatment. And Kane and Damo are headstrong, whereas I'm just like, I don't care enough.
Yeah, I'm here to give
whatever,
I think.
it's fine. Anyway, so that's the Bevo story.
Do you play? This is from Mark Coulson, great mate of mine actually. The Mark the Shark. Do you plan on helping Tony Jones find a new job? But once you take over his Channel 9 news pre-game and tennis gigs,
Tennis. Yeah, he's not going to Wimbledon, is he?
you are.
No, I'm not going. I'm just doing it from the studio. No one's going out. Well, Todd Woodbridge is going. No, I'm not taking Tony Jones's job. I also don't want his job. Being a newsreader takes a special set of skills, and that's not me, I don't think, but credit to those who do that. But no, I think part of the reason Tony likes me is because he knows I don't want his job. I don't. If I was gunning for his gig, I don't think he'd be quite as friendly to me.
How much of that rivalry stuff just sort of, they play off against each other, the media people, this rivalry crap that they make up. Is any of it actually real?
who?
Like Nathan Brown, waffle
yeah.
through that. Like say Brownie and Chomp Chomp.
Yeah.
Are they genuinely sort of?
Such a good question. I think there's weeks where they're genuinely annoyed at each other and weeks when they're good mates.
Yeah.
Tony's an incredible person, and I wouldn't have this job at Channel 9 without him.
Right.
But he has days where you're like, "Are you okay, TJ?" Just like, is he all right? But he's incredibly talented, and he's helped me a hell of a lot. And him and Nathan Brown, I don't know. Like, I think it varies week to week.
It reminds me of those friendships where you go, we're friends because everyone else is friends, but when you shake their hand, it's very strong.
Yeah,
and there's a big whack on the shoulder. That's sort of,
Subtle but nice.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if Tony goes to Wimbledon, Nathan Brown hosts the Sunday Footy Show.
Right.
So now TJ's not going. Brownie doesn't get to host, so I think he's a bit flat about that.
Yeah, right. What do we got here? How many hat tricks have you taken for St Kilda
Two hat
cricket
tricks.
clubs? Two hat
no
tricks.
hesitation.
6 for 8 versus
When was the most
Bran.
recent?
You throw
2017.
Little tweakers.
Little left arm orthodox.
Really?
I'm a wicketkeeper. So I played when I was playing properly at St Kilda Cricket Club. I was a wicketkeeper bat, and then I stopped playing when work got in the way. I just filled in and started playing as a batter, and had a bit of a bowl and took 2 hat tricks in 3 weeks, which was
Wow.
bizarre. Well, the second hat trick I remember I took 2 wickets and 2 balls, and I was ready to go for the third ball. I thought to myself, I've got this. I was here 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And that's how it played out.
Yeah,
the ball
good.
didn't spin and the batter left it and clean bowled him. And I
Did
ran
they
off
record
celebrating like
these
John
games?
Aloisi.
Should get this footage somehow.
There's no footage. Oh, there is footage of the first one actually, but
Yeah.
it's like grainy 2016 iPhone footage. It's
That's
no good.
right up our alley.
Yeah. I'm talking about cricket here.
Cooper Gretsch, honest thoughts on how that interview went? Are you guys across this? This is old stuff.
No.
Do you know who Cooper Gretsch is? At the moment I
Gretsch-
saw this, I thought this guy knows my world.
So he became infamous in the digital space because he has had a Facebook page, AFL News Scores. And he had
My man.
He's one of your
Big
mob.
Scoops, yeah. Zaina, yeah.
big St Kilda supporter. He's got about 50,000 followers.
Does he?
And he would, if you broke a story, he would put that on his page, but also he would break stories, and have strong opinions such as there was one wild opinion. Jack Steele is a better player than Zach Butters.
Why is that wild?
Well, no, but there's an
just
even
great.
wilder one, like Jack Billings is worth a late first rounder to Melbourne.
Yeah.
That sort of stuff.
He's rolling all Australian teams of the week. It was essentially just St
and
Kilda's
he-
list
So,
management.
Ham, did you buy it?
Well, what happened was
Way better.
He sent me a Facebook message, and I didn't know who he was at the time. I've never said this publicly.
We can play with it after, don't worry.
a Facebook page called AFL News Scores and Results sent me a Facebook message saying, "Hey Tom, I'd love to interview you, or can you interview me?" I can't remember which one it was.
And
I think
went-
it would have been more that.
Yeah, and I said, "No worries, let's do it." And then after a while, I got all these messages from people because he was advertising on his page that I was going to interview him, and I was in too deep. So I was like, "Well, let's go, let's do it." So I did it outside the MCG. Sarah Ollie was there, and I interviewed him, and it became like a viral video for a little bit, sort of. You know, like I full on committed to the interview. Like, Cooper, tell us about your past, tell us about your St Kilda love.
You were suited up.
I was suited up.
Yeah.
Do I regret it? I question it, that's for sure.
So that's a yes. That's
But in fairness, I think Cooper's doing a great job, and I wish nothing but the best for him.
Oh, that's
Jim, please put that all together for just
that's getting packaged right up.
Yeah, no
I'm not sure where he's at, old Cooper Gretsch. I think he's now player sponsors all over the place.
Well, he's still, I've never actually followed the page.
Right.
So-
I'm banned, actually, to be honest. But I am in a group called, I'm banned everywhere, really. I'm in a group called Banned From AFL Trade Rumors.
You're in the rejects group, the exile group.
Yeah, I get that. It's
Yeah.
big because I think he's very quick on the ban button, old Cooper Gretsch.
Yeah, if you abuse him or disagree with him,
Yes.
if you think Jack Steele's not better than Zach Butters, ban. Gone.
Yeah, and it was. I think that's the case. I think it was the softest banning I've ever got. I've got bans from everywhere, and they were for much
That was
worse.
2021, I think, or started 2021.
We'll
so
pull
it was
this
a while
footage
ago.
up, mate. It's one of the all timers. I reckon we could go one more. Well, there's a couple in here that are more.
Ask 'em.
Are you balding? Asking for a mate named Travis Cloak. That's real.
Jesus
There's
Christ.
one here
Did you
from.
write that for your personal
But then there's
account,
another one that says, "Why don't you more people have hair like yours?" From a T. Morris 32.
Oh, that's right. That's a good question, actually. Well, people don't get the treatment they should. Good question, Tom.
Well, there's a flight happening, but we should ask this. I think the Samuel Surf. We never get a message from Samuel Surf and don't ask the question or play his recording. Who is the biggest sesh weapon of the pencil pushers? And I'm assuming he's talking
Sesh
about.
weapon's such a great term.
He's a ripper, Samuel. Who has a crack? I've heard rumours that Damo is very good on the sauce.
He apparently, I've never actually been on the piss with him, but I think he enjoys a drink
Yep.
and socialising. You know,
Socializing, is that what we call
He
it?
I
lubricates
think we
the
are.
throat.
Yeah. I think we are. Oh, I can only speak for my good friends in the media who I've had big nights with.
Yeah.
So Josh Gabelich is great fun.
Right.
And a good-looking rooster as well. Great head of hair.
I love how it comes back to the hair. Just
Always the
judgment.
hair. Always the hair. Sarah Ollie's great fun.
Yeah.
Loves a drink. So I've had some great nights with her as well.
Yeah.
Who else in the media is good fun? I worked with at Fox. Oh, like people like David, like Kingy. Kingy loves a drink.
Yes.
Um,
and gambling.
Loves the puns.
Hello.
He loves a No, there's a great photo of him clearly
You
getting
know, I've definitely seen them.
just rinsed at a poker table, and he's got his. I've said to you later, please put it in front of him. It's Kingy like this, going, oh.
Yeah, no, you don't want
And there's
that.
another guy next to him going, with just a
Who
half
else?
drunk pint.
Joey Montagna's great value.
Yep.
I've had some good fun with him. So I wouldn't use the term sesh weapon about anyone, but socialising, I'd like to socialise with all of them.
Who's the
Yeah,
one you
yeah.
wouldn't want to though?
Oh.
Who's the reverse?
Ooh,
one?
good
Who's a pain
question.
in the ass? Like who's a pest?
Can't say that.
There's a few. Like I could drop you something.
Okay,
once
go.
Again,
Who's
a huge
Once again,
nerd?
I'm not going to.
What do you
but
reckon, Trav? Who is?
I don't know. I don't follow the media person.
Oh, you just said you could.
I'll hang
No,
out
no,
with anyone.
old
I thought it'd be
players, mate. They're
Damo. I thought it'd
pains.
be
No,
Damo. I thought it'd be
Damo's
huge
cool.
nerd.
Damo's good. And he's also like, a revered figure in media. He's a 2-time Alf Brown winner. Wrote the Essendon drugs saga story.
Don't look at me, mate. I wasn't around then.
That was a direct
12
look
years
at
ago.
Trav
Yeah.
then.
Essendon drugs saga. No, I can't think of anyone that I wouldn't want to have a drink with at the right time. In fairness, in the footy season, I don't drink much at all. Like it's all consuming. But in the summer, especially when you're away doing Test cricket, the former cricketers drink a lot.
Yep.
Like that's part of their culture. So
Yeah.
and I don't love drinking a lot of beer. It's like I
Yeah.
don't know if I'm on the right podcast to say that, but
No,
like
correct. I don't
it's just
drink
like
beer.
it just cooks me,
Yeah.
after a while. So and they somehow get up and they're fine the next day, whereas my head's spinning. So I just got to pick and choose a
So
little
you
bit.
absolutely tied one on in Colombo then.
We had one night in Gaul, which
Yeah.
was unbelievable at the very end. Yeah, which was great. Me and Barat and Adam Collins and Bryce McGain.
Yeah.
There's an obscure sportsman
Bryce
for you.
McGain.
One test match against South Africa. Daniel Cherney was there. So, we had one great night in Gaul. Sri Lanka's a great place to go.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Yeah, it's awesome.
I've
So,
heard
yeah.
this might be on the list for us, but yeah, that's all the questions there. Before we even get off that, I can't believe you. Maybe it's because you do work for him in some capacity. Hutchie is clearly the biggest weapon on the sauce. I've been to the Continental in Sorrento around December time enough, within a couple of frames of Hutchie having the time of his life in the best way possible.
Hutchie's a stayer, I think. Like he's a great talker. He's been to America a lot.
Yeah.
I've heard great stories about Hutchie socialising back in the day.
Yeah,
I
right.
think he's awesome.
Yeah.
As a
I like
journo,
him.
yeah.
From afar.
Eddie was Eddie used to go to what's that nightclub that doesn't exist? The Tunnel.
The Tunnel.
Which I'm too young for. I don't know if
Yeah,
you're too young for
they're
that. as
way
well.
too young,
Okay,
but
no
I
worries.
know the
Just making
stories.
sure.
That was the Collingwood faithful. That's what they always.
Your
hang
dad
out, so-
talks about the Tunnel
Oh,
quite
man.
a
Oh,
lot.
really?
Yeah.
So Eddie used to go there with like a notepad in his pocket and talk to people, and then go to the bathroom and like write down like different notes and
Really?
different stories. Yeah, that's what he openly talks about. Yeah.
Good on him.
That was the old, like, you'd play on a Saturday afternoon, both teams, you'd roll to the tunnel, both of them, and have a drink together, shake hands over
Yeah.
lunch.
Drink cards.
How's the double standard, right? Like if where Eddie's doing that, we're like, good on him. If he was to do that, we'd be like,
Yeah, you're a
fucking
snitch. Yeah, you're a snitch. I know.
He did that with Stephen May.
Yeah. I know.
No, flip now. I'm all whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway,
God.
that's just ridiculous. That's just funny to think about in the nightclub with
Yeah, a little pen and paper, a little golf pencil.
wandering around with a little notepad at CQ.
Yeah, CQ. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
We've just covered off everything we could
Plenty.
possibly. There's plenty there.
There's
Yeah, we
plenty
tick some
there.
topics.
But, thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate and
thank you
some
for
of the
having
things we've spoken about. I think it's good of you to actually
No worries
get
at
into
all.
that stuff and
If
get into the
you
weeds.
need us to edit anything out, you've got about 3 hours.
Yeah,
If
nah.
you
Yeah.
regret anything.
Should be fine.
But yeah, in that time, we'll also probably AI clone your voices. Make up some fucking.
I'm just happy I'm in a
rumors.
WhatsApp group with you two now. I wish you were involved as well.
No,
I'll add you in.
Oh, mate, you get so much mail, all Saints related, all from the bloke at my local, the Beehive in Kew.
It is amazing how many footy fans think they've got like unbelievable mail about the club. They're like, I'm telling you, it's true.
Yeah, because
didn't actually
old
ask
mate's grandma came down and
Yeah,
played bingo
yeah,
or
yeah,
something.
yeah.
I didn't actually ask this, but I'm sure you'd have like some sort of filter. But how do you know that whether something's come from Big Footy or a WhatsApp thread? Because you know those things that you see in WhatsApp that's like, boys, you know,
Yeah,
my
yeah. Didn't hear it from me.
auntie just
Forgotten
had
stars.
yeah. I'm doing work at her house, you know.
The most annoying thing is when someone starts a WhatsApp room like that, and it goes viral, and everyone messages it to you saying, "Is this true?" So you end up replying to 30 or 40 people saying, "No, maybe 40% true, 60% true."
If you ever need to confirm directly from the source, 90% of them are from James. He loves starting WhatsApp
Before
rumors.
Yeah, I do.
he put a face to it, like it was just we could create whatever we wanted.
Yeah, which
Yeah,
is dangerous
yeah.
stuff and quite cowardly actually. So well done for creating.
I mean, it's been alleged.
It was purely because you're still working in AFL circles and a wellbeing coordinator and social worker.
That's
So
true.
I
I had
can't
a laugh.
associate that with my life.
Well, that was before we were meant to be wrapping up. But right before Trav just wrangled me out of what I was doing when this whole thing blew up, I was like, I'm obviously not going to. I'm in social work. I've been working in mental health for a long time. Trav goes, "You want to start coaching?" Oh, probably shouldn't. I've just been banned by every News Corp in the world. And
Nobody
Triple
knew
J's
anything
after
about
me, and everyone. I think I'm a bit hot stuff at the moment in the worst way possible. Are you
Yeah.
sure you want to do that? And calmed it down a little bit, and it was one of the more enjoyable bloody 5 years of my career. Like, I'm just
done.
so glad Trav. Oh, mate.
We'll just start this as
Story
your life.
career.
Maybe I could interview you if you want.
I loved it. I'm very grateful that Trav pulled me
That's
out.
good.
and
Well
got
done.
me into
Can
that.
I say one more thing on that question? Just it's on my mind. So you get messaged lots of different things all the time, and the one thing I regret is I got messaged in about July last year that Joe Danaher was going to retire, and I looked at it and I went, that is way too far fetched, and I left it. I said thanks, mate. I left it to some random guy on Twitter, and it turned out to be true. So. You have to filter, but that is one that I think to myself, oh God, imagine if I'd reported in July that Joe Danaher is considering retirement and it turns out to be true.
But that's not news. He's been considering retirement for 10 years.
But then he
Lives
does
in a
retire.
caravan.
But then he does retire. Then he does retire.
Yeah, yeah.
He's traveling Spain at the moment.
Is he?
Yeah, they're in Spain with the kids.
Can you get him on the podcast? I'd like to listen to
Isn't he
him.
one of your mates?
He's a good mate of mine.
Yeah.
he
Did you know he was going to retire earlier than that?
Yeah, yeah,
You did.
absolutely,
You could have told me. You could have paid for that story.
I can't believe he used to drive from Byron Bay to Brizzy.
Yeah, he lives in Brunswick Heads.
Yeah, and literally-
actually, it's not Brunswick Heads, the one next to it.
And
but
would
anyway,
literally ring him and
hour
say,
a
"Sorry,
half
guys,
drive.
traffic's too bad, not coming in." Today.
Yeah.
What a guy.
Blew my
He
mind.
loves driving. He's always loved driving because they've got it. The Daners have a farm somewhere.
Apparently he's a ripper.
Used to live up there, and he's the best bloke ever.
Yeah, and a good
he just
player.
fucking hates.
Yeah.
he just I don't know.
It's amazing how much money you leave on the table.
Yeah, I don't think.
It's a common thing, that. And, hate maybe. What was that? What was Jamara's line? It's a childhood dream,
Yeah, I heard that.
adults' worst nightmare. Well, thanks for your time.
Yeah.
It's been a hell of a yarn, and hopefully we do it. Let's do it again soon.
No worries at all. Thanks for having me.
Always welcome to
Go
come
Saints.
Awesome. Yeah, go Saints. Let's
What
go.
a poor relationship over the Saints.